Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a lovely day today. So for today's video, I'm so excited. It's going to be my, I was going to say project pan finale. It's going to be my Pan That palette finale. So as you guys know, I've been working on the Soph palette for actually over a year. I think it's been like a year and a few months that I've been working on this palette, so I'm definitely excited to update you guys on it, let you know how I've been doing, and yeah, wrap this project up. So without further ado, let's jump straight on into the video. I don't know why my fringe isn't sitting right today. Just as a quick FYI, if you are interested in how I did this look, I did a full get ready with me. I actually posted it on Christmas Day, so you will be able to go and watch that. I'll link it in the eye, wherever it is, don't know which side it's on, if you are interested, that is. But that's not what we're here for right now. So let's get started. So I have all my little notes here written down, so if you catch me looking down, I'm just making sure I'm getting my numbers right. So let me just show you guys what the palette is currently looking like, because I feel like it looks insane right now. It is looking so well loved. I love seeing it like this. And there will be like I was gonna say collage, but like a time lapse basically of how the palette has progressed at the end of the video, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. But let's get into it. So the very first shade, which is Penguin, since the last update, I've used it 19 times, which is a lot for me, especially for eyeshadow. 19 times is insane. And since the start of this project, I've used this shade 63 times. Now, we didn't completely empty it, but we sure as hell came close. Like, we are so close on finishing that shade. I think had I have had another month or two, I probably would have emptied it. But I'm definitely proud of myself, and I'm glad that that looks like that. That is probably one of the best used shades in my collection right now. Then we have the shade next to that, which is Pancakes. Now, Pancakes I used again 19 times. I usually mix these two together, so that makes sense. I've used it 50 times since the start of this project, and this is definitely the most empty eyeshadow that I have. Had I have had another month, this would have been empty 100%. But yeah, that is a well loved shade, and yeah, I'm a little bit gutted we didn't finish it, and obviously we didn't finish any shades, so I am a little bit gutted. But for how much I know I do eyeshadow, I'm very proud of how far I've come with this palette. Then we have the next shade, which is the shade that I've used the most in this project. I don't know what's wrong with me right now. So I've used it 16 times since the last update and 67 times since the start of the project, and that pan is very healthy. To say that I literally only use it on my inner corner and my brow bone, I feel like that is a very nice sized pan. I was trying to work on the like top section here to try and get a little bit more of a bigger pan, but I just couldn't get there, but it's fine. Yeah, really happy with the progress on that one. And then next to that, we have this pink shimmer, which is called Pink Champagne. I only used it once since the last update, so not great, but I've used it 12 times since the start of the project, and it looks used now. It's not my favorite shade, so obviously why I've not used it a lot, but yeah, I've used it enough. Then we have the shade next to that, which obviously has quite a healthy sized pan in it, and that is Iced Coffee. I only used it twice since the last update, and I've used it 22 times since the start of this project, and I really do like this shade, but yeah, I just couldn't wear away the pan enough to empty it. But it was a really nice shade, and that's all I have to say on that. Next to that, this should be my favourite shade. It's called Cup of Tea. I've used it 7 times and 32 times since the start of the project. I do like this shade, but I have to mix it with something else to get it to work, because it's just too patchy on its own. This is an older palette, so the formulas in this palette are not the best anymore, and this one definitely wasn't the best. It's a shade I should love, but because it was so patchy, I did struggle to use it a lot of the time. But the pan's there, we got a nice pan in it, and yeah, at least it got used. So then we have Grow Old, which is this kind of like goldy shimmer here. I only used it once since the last update and 9 times since the start of this project, and it looks used. I wish it was used a little bit more than that, but it's okay. For how much I do eyeshadow, I'm not too mad at that. Then I'm just going to quickly skip over the 2 shades next to that. So there is Sparks Fly, which I did not use at all since the last update, but I've used it 6 times since the start of the project. And then next to that is Smoky Bronze, which again, I've not used since the last update, but I've used it 9 times since the start of the project. And then this shade as well is Mixed Berries, which I didn't use since the last update, but I've used it 3 times since the start of the project. I wish I'd used this one a little bit more, but it's just not really a shade that I gravitate towards. But then we have this shade next to that, which has got a lot of use. So I used this 11 times since the last update, so I was really going for it with this one. And I've used it 22 times since the start of the project. And yeah, we worn away at the pan a lot. This is the most used like actual shade in here, because these 2 are more like my transition and like setting down shades, whereas this is like an actual shade I use on my eyes. But yeah, we got a big pan on that. I'm very happy with that. I wish I could have emptied it, but it's okay. So then next to that we have this shade here, which is called Peaches. I used it 3 times since the last update, and I've used it 11 times, sorry, since the start of this project. There's no dip in this. I basically took like the top layer off it, like that's kind of it. There's not really a big dent in that at all. I wish I'd have got a little bit more use on that, but it is fine. I'm glad that I used it at least a little bit. Then we have this shade here, which is Cloudberry, which has a huge dip in this. Let me just try and show you how big this dip is. I feel like I probably could have hit pan on this if I'd have focused on it a bit more, because that pan is huge. Not pan, sorry, dip. So yeah, this is Cloudberry. I used it 7 times since the last update. I've used it 14 times since the start of this project, so really not bad. For 14 uses to have a dip that big, I'm actually quite proud of that. I wish I'd have put a little bit more effort into it, I can't lie, but it is what it is. And then next to that we have Pumpkin, which I didn't use since the last update, and I've only actually ever used it twice since the start of the project, which is not ideal. Definitely a shade I should have put a little bit more thought into, but it's done now. And then next to that we have Pine Tree, which I've only used once since the start of this since the last update, and I've used it twice since the start of this project. Again, it's just not a shade I would reach for, I can't lie. It's just, yeah, I don't really like it, so that's why that one hasn't had a lot of use. And then next to that we have Petrol, same kind of a vibe for this one. I didn't use it since the last update. I've only used it twice since the start of the project. This is just a shade I would never reach for unless I was literally trying to pan it. It's just not a shimmer I would ever put on my eyes. But yeah, it got 2 uses out of it, so woo. It's not untouched. Then next to that we have Pug, which I didn't use since the last update, but I've used it 7 times since the start of the project. I wish I'd have used it a bit more. It does have quite a nice little dip on it. I don't think you'll be able to see it on camera because it is only a small dip, but for 7 uses it's not too bad. I wish I just got a little bit more use on it, but it is what it is. Then we have this like deep red shade on the end here called Danger, which I've only used twice since the last update. I've used it 8 times since the start of the project, but there is a nice healthy dip in this pan. I'm hoping you can see. Try and get you all the angles. There is a nice little dip going on there. I think if I'd have used it 3 or 4 more times, I probably could have got a pan on here. It would have had to have been quite a precise brush though, but I'm happy with it. I got a bit of a dip on it and it looks used at least. So then we have Strawberry Sweets down here. I used it once since the last update and 3 times since the start of the project. It definitely looks used, but I definitely could have reached for it more. And I actually do like pink shades on my eyes, so I don't really know why I haven't used it more, but it is what it is. And then next to that we have Festive Flame, which I didn't use since the last update, and I've only used it twice since the start of the project. And then next to that we have Coppercorn, which is exactly the same. I didn't use it since the last update, and I've only used it twice since the start of the project. These were just so hard pressed. Like, they just hard panned every single time I tried to use them. Really not ideal, and that's why I just didn't reach for them. Then we have this shade here, which is called Mug Cake, which I used 3 times since the last update and 19 times since the start of the project. And there's a nice big healthy dip in that shade. I really, really like it. Looks a little bit like Love Heart or Mickey Mouse. But yeah, I enjoyed that shade a lot. Next to that, we have Rosewood, which I used 4 times since the last update and 11 times since the start of the project. And again, there's quite a nice pan in there to say I don't use this shade for anything other than wing liner most of the time. And then we have the shade that I was most nervous about is the black, which is called Nightmare. I've only used it once since the last update, but I have actually used it 5 times in this project, which for someone who never used black eyeshadow, I am proud of that. There's a hair floating about. Yeah, I am proud of that. It does look used. I wish I'd have used it just a little bit more, maybe got to 10 uses, that would have been really good, but it is what it is. It's fine. I never use black eyeshadows, so I'm proud of that. Now, this palette, I have been umming and ahhing about what to do with it. I can't lie. I have decided to declutter this. I was going to keep it and try to finish it, not next year in 2024, but in 2025. But I was just thinking, I'm not going to reach for it in that time because I don't like this palette enough. And at the same time, the packaging is broken. So the formula of this eyeshadow palette is just getting worse and worse as time goes on. Also, yeah, it just doesn't perform the best. So I don't actually enjoy using it. And a lot of the shimmers are hard panned, so they're really, really hard to use. I have to scrape away at them all the time just to get them to work. I wouldn't enjoy panning this at any given time, even though I came really, really close to a few of the shades. I'm not going to put myself through that. So I am going to declutter this palette. We are going to say goodbye to it. It is going. I would give it to my daughter, but it is quite an old palette and I don't really want to do that to her. So this is going to go in the bin, unfortunately, but I have had fun panning it this year. This has been my first like serious pan that palette and I'm so excited to do it again next year, but I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break now. I am filming this on the 16th of December and I will be starting my next pan that palette for next year. It'll be after January 1st. I'm not sure when it will be. I usually start my my pan that palette, sorry, around the 15th. So I'll probably start it around then. I have got a few ideas of palettes that I want to roll in, but I'm not going to get into that now. That'll be a whole separate video. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll leave the little time lapse of how the palette was looking from start to finish for you now. But that is everything that I have for you guys today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like because it really, really does help me out. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next year's Pan That palette because I'm going to give it all I've got and I'm definitely going to pick a little bit of a smaller palette so that hopefully we get some empty pans. But yeah, with all that being said, thank you guys so much for keeping up with this project. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.